Thank you for joining us for Turn the Page with Paige, brought to you by Southwestern Illinois College. I'm your host, Paige Hulsey. Siblings who are lucky enough to experience the new addition of a family member also usually experience some big feelings. Have you ever wondered if dogs feel the same way when they get a new four-legged sibling? Well, readers will get to learn a little something from them in the children's book, A Tale of Empathy, Rocky Gains a Brother. Author Brittany Musholt from St. Louis joins us here in studio. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy.
Great book. Why did you want to write it?
So I am a speech therapist and a mom, and I have really always kind of come back to the concept of empathy and seeing how important it is for children to learn empathy. It can impact so much more, even beyond social and emotional skills. It's really linked with, higher academic performance, and I just find that it's a skill that really benefits kids in all ways. And so I wanted to write a book kind of with that overall theme. But then when I became a mom, especially, when my youngest son was born, I have two sons, a 4-year-old and a almost 2-year-old. And when my youngest was born, my oldest had a very similar experience that a lot of big siblings have adjusting to a new baby in the house. He didn't like sharing our attention. He didn't like his whole world kind of being upended. Sure. So I wanted to write a story that could help children like him, all siblings, figure out how to navigate that journey. And then beyond that, just a story for all children to learn empathy as well.
Empathy is a concept that as adults we understand now what it means, but it's kind of ambiguous as a kid to explain until you experience it.
Yes, definitely. And I kind of found that some books would fall short that talked about empathy because they used that big word of empathy and they used kind of really tough to understand concepts. But children, as we know, learn so well through books and through stories. So using a story about how somebody else learned empathy without outright naming it has been really helpful. And parents have found that it's really a good way for kids to learn empathy without having to explain and define empathy.
It makes sense. So tell me more about what happens in the story itself. Who's Rocky?
The book tells the story of Rocky and Truman, our two dogs, our family dogs. We started out with Rocky. He was a very calm, laid back, very chill dog. And then a few years later, we brought home Truman, and he was wild. He's just boundless energy. So they were totally different personality types. And it kind of walks through the story of how Rocky, kind of like a big sibling, is just totally thrown off by this new wild boy who takes up all of mom and dad's time. And so it kind of walks through how they both really don't see eye to eye. They just feel so different, but then they kind of start to learn different things about each other. Like, this is why Rocky is the way he is. This is why Truman is the way he is. This is why they react certain ways in certain situations. And so they, over time, learn that about each other and then kind of look out for each other and think about how they might respond in certain situations and help each other. So then throughout the story, they become, close and eventually become brothers.
The same great lessons you would want any toddler to learn and experience.
Definitely.
Rocky's world got rocked, I think.
Yeah,
what happened.
That's a really good way to say it.
Let's take a closer look at the illustrations because that's literally what you want people to do. There's something hidden throughout the book, right?
Yes, so on each page, my wonderful illustrator, we hid a bone throughout the book. So as a speech therapist, I really like books that keep a kid engaged and interacting in the book. So on each page, there's a bone hidden on different places, like either behind a window or under the couch. So it leads to great language opportunities, which I love doing what I do. And it just is a really awesome way for kids to stay focused on with each turn of the page. When I'm reading it at schools and different things, each turn of the page, they're focused and they're trying to find that hidden bone, which has been a really awesome thing that I love.
That's fantastic. Now, as a mom of a 2 and a 4-year-old, what was it like when you finally got to read the book that I know you worked so hard on? Read it to them and have them experience it with you.
It was wonderful. So my youngest son, he was, around 1, so he didn't totally get it, but he will. Anytime he sees the book, Rocky's no longer with us, so he never met him, but he will walk up to the book and name the dogs, and then I'll get so excited to point to Truman. But my 4-year-old, I really never thought that this would happen, but we had a really special kind of experience through writing the book because I kind of thought it was too big of a concept for him to get. Like, mommy's writing a book one day, but he latched on immediately. He loved reading the story even before pictures were there. And then as my illustrator would send different pictures, each page he would read and he would get so excited and love seeing the story come to life. And we didn't even plan for this, but he became kind of like our editor or like a feedback because as we would read it, like there was one page that I always use as an example where Truman knocked over treats and he starts gobbling up all these treats, and Rocky's so upset with him. And in the picture, the original illustration, he looked surprised but kind of happy about it. And my son was like, no, Mommy, he's supposed to be mad. He's mad that he took these treats. He's mad at Truman. And so I would go back to Rabia and say, hey, I'm sorry, like it just doesn't feel right. And I told her, it's my son actually that has this feedback. And she's like, that's perfect, because he's our audience. That's who we're writing this book for, is kids like him. We want it to make sense for him. So he kind of loved that, and he took like an ownership. So he calls it like our book whenever I do events, and he likes to read it with me. So it was such a really special bonding experience that I really didn't foresee happening, and I'm so glad that we got to have.
And a good reminder to all parents that kids really can understand these bigger concepts
yes,
that we don't always give them credit for.
Definitely.
Okay, what else are you working on? I know you're not finished.
Yes, so this story has kind of grown into a series in my mind. So right now I'm working on the next book, which is A Tale of Resilience. So I want to keep this trend going, talking about the dogs, but also building on social and emotional skills. So it's A Tale of Resilience, Rocky Bounces Back, and it is kind of about just building a growth mindset. It's something I see as a speech therapist with young children and with my own kids, is they really struggle when they are trying something new and they're not perfect at it. So it kind of walks through how they can build that stamina to try something new, to not be perfect right away, but I'm going to keep going. And it kind of gives like a mantra for kids to use so that they can build that skill and learn that it's okay to mess up, it's okay to fail, and that it's kind of all about just building that journey.
I look forward to seeing that. Now,
Thank
before
you.
you go, I know that you probably read countless books every night. So what's your recommendation for a book by another author?
That's such a tough question. I will say the biggest thing for any parents listening, I would say if you're reading a book to your child, you're doing the best thing, because reading is so important. So if I had to pick, I would say my two favorites, especially right now, that kind of fall into similar themes, would be Jabari Jumps by Gaia Cornwall. It's about like bravery and learning how to be safe in the water and comfortable in the water. And then The Rabbit Listened by Corey Dorfield.
I love that
and
one.
it's a huge one. It is so good. When I read it the first time, I kind of was reading it to my son, and I got distracted because I was like, this is such a great book. It's such a good lesson. I really, really love it.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Yes.
It has become an absolute favorite of mine. Yes, it's
so
really
well done.
powerful.
And the
but
illustrations
not too
are
long.
beautiful. Yes, it's very digestible.
Great recommendations, but great book that you created too.
Thank you so
Brittany.
much.
Thank you, and congratulations on everything.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you at home for joining us as well. We hope you'll come back again for another episode of Turn the Page with Paige.